hwefo yemana kwaba de banyane dwumedi dwumedi a ya to ne zan no kwar winwin shimedi no kwar winwin shimedi da odapono do a yepede yanyu de hon komo oye the fallout of EJISU by election and the fallout of EJISU by election ono na yepede yanyu de hon komo bra abato no record no yehu oye Bese Bagunya Ojina Homa Desia Wo Kwada so oye Professor Kinsley Nyaku there occur one of the polling station na bra oko ben electoral officers na oyi oye envelope bi fini kotokum the two oye apono no do na ono na bra dem za osi ne obede kasamfonyi efiri do ne ene on social media akasakasa bebre aba ho eyi the consent aba monam do electoral commission oye director of elections Dr. Serebo Kweku abakasa na ono ana no kwarimen ye pada ye twenya na adwen yere mombil no yeti oye Dr. Serebo Kweku na nsema okay nenen na yetum ye bisa wansa mo Sunday ye nyimde says the Ademuzi Zerma oye electoral officers eti bibiri ma hon wa bera numu enda ho wa bera polling agents na mpanyimfo a wohwe aboto no do no wonya we officially it could be considered as what an attempt to influence the electoral officers de bia ya kwenye bia epede nam kuntuna se epede efa katashena proye na ima oye mpanyimfo a wohwe aboto no do wobo woyedza onse non fata doboko wo side na no the consent aba amankrofo bebrebe kasa afada wabotogwa no ho na ono on the electoral commission was a crata abotogwa ho on Dr. Serebo Kweku oye director of election services na ono so odinenu masam the abotogwa na ono dem komodi anade yano ananchechirem Dr. Serebo ozobotu gwanenan ono na yepede yemahana hwefo what say binti yempo na yenkete insam na bia
to speak to that. It's rather unfortunate that the incident happened few minutes after you had left this polling station, because I was there with you. How do you feel that a polling station you visited in not less than 5 minutes, an incident of this nature was recorded there?
As you are saying, I didn't witness what transpired. So somebody just sent the video to me. So in the video, you will see that somebody pulled a white something, whether it is an envelope, whether it is a handkerchief, whether it's the paper, it is not clear to that. And I think the attempt was to give it to the officer, but the officer did not pick. Then it was put on the table. So that's what we want to know. What has happened. So for the meantime, because of the election going on, if you want to do a lot of investigation, we even disorganize the voting. So we've asked you could see two of our officers were closer to the person who gave the passage, whatever it is. So we have asked them to stay aside for us to finish with the election. Then when we finish with the election, then we'll go into the issue and see what was it. Was it envelope? If it is an envelope, what was the content? What is it meant for? Whatever, if it is handkerchief, what is it meant for? If it is ordinary paper, what is it meant for? So we will get to know the details of whatever the content or the parcel is and the purpose of the parcel. Then based on that, we'll take the next action.
I know EJISU
yate oye Dr. Serebo Kweku ni yano ozama oye the journalist na obi sana sam nenen the ma brain na zeni si nenen na Dr. Serebo Kweku wa kodem oye polling station nenen ofi wo korin cherry biara baye sima baye numechir ene dem asam ne badegwa na aspenyi na wa basre oye demo polling center na demo assembly sin offer ne den ohun ne den na onu na Dr. Sirbo Kweku rekasa na ose ohunde obi wo ehwe video na obi weyi bibi fita fe ne kotoku mu na kotokun ade na oyi ne so ye envelope so ye handkerchief so ye paper enna oye dozerema oye election officers na electoral officers no wanjinti or the two oye eponodo Tio Dr. Sirbo Kweku, a whole doctor of his caliber obi we sua de dudam na a journalist asamesi a journalist e bisaw Dr. Sirbo Kweku yana also wo hunde we bibi fita na ade na we yin one anozikan so ya handkerchief so oye paper say oye document wonyim onintin wamma dem electoral officers ebie na wo ye dwuma wonenen wamma wo de wone dwuma di eguwo na wo de afoforofo di abahye honanem de abato no bokodo sabe no kwawem ye pede ye bisede sabio Dr. Sirbo Kweku asema iya na okay odwene gana fo sabe ya adwenye dwuma ana. Was he really listening to himself? Dr. Sirbo Kweku answering that question that yes, a gentleman removed something white from his pocket. As to whether it was an envelope, he couldn't tell. As to whether it was a paper or a handkerchief. He, Dr. Sirbo Kweku, the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission of Ghana, that incident in scene a journalist in Bisa, Dr. Sirbo Kweku say he cannot tell the particular material the gentleman removed from his pocket and placed on the table or in an attempt of giving it to the electoral officers. And now he was holding with the electoral officers in Wanje, Wanje Oye Papanen, the MP, Professor Kingsley Nyaku. He dropped it on the table. The question that the bitter truth would like to ask Dr. Sirbo, by giving us that answer, that object at that moment when the journalist was asking him, he couldn't tell whether it was an envelope, whether it was a paper or a handkerchief. The question the bitter truth would like to put to Dr. Sirbo Kweku is that you have employed officers to work for you, and in that said video, you consider an action that took place not to be a right action as endorsed or allowed by the guidelines that governs the election. As a result of that, you decided to relieve them of their responsibility. And you were telling us that before you took that action, you could not see that particular object, whether it was an envelope, whether it was handkerchief or it's a paper. What kind of stupidity what kind of answer is a whole Dr. Sirbo is giving Ghanaians? What logic of an answer that Dr. Sirbo, the Director of Electoral Services, telling Ghanaians? What does it take the citizens for? If I have committed an offense, if I'm being alleged to have been involved in an offense which you think that the laws that governs the conduct of the election does not permit me, because of that, you are going to relieve me of my responsibility. And you were telling Ghanaians that you could not tell, you can't tell whether it was an envelope. So then on what basis was the Electoral Commission, relieving those officers from their duty? Dr. Sirbo Kweku kacha here today. As someone see the whole video no money, but answer na one for one ejuma. Everybody ejuma na fi one nsem. Everybody mo wazi one ejuma egu ho. Na ye hwehwem adekro pochia. Oye the NPP member of parliament for Kwadaso. Oye Professor Kingsley Nyaku. Oye zim odi tupono do. Na essay or the tupono do electoral officers in the way intazenen. Bra asamodu na adeno on the table no do anana obieye as Penyina, I am Director of Electoral Services of the Electoral Commission, and in your catcher and there, when two men bisa ne officers now, why employ one and other Jumasha Wanessa, Nezamba the Winty, not or you want to fee a Jumana no. When bisa one, I did Potia, or yeah, the member of parliament and other two ponodo. As other two ponodo and in Yibera Obi Fai, and I want to be amfa. So Obi Fai ya, or ya badi in order to do, or ya madi in no fai. One and no fai, Sabi, the basic question Dr. Sirbo Paka Chagana for day. On when two men bisa into Jino, na or catch some joining no bisa any day. Azena papa ni feel ko jukumo video ni munen on to menche so ye envelope so ye handkerchief so ye people on no doctor Sirbo to menche Jimmy samo to them a more from a samo to them a response in yano more from a yano doctor a whole doctor Sirbo kweku other magana for upper the gana for yetin here no call ye win neka ye kana Yeraba catcher Dr. Sirbo de Ghana for Nyam Kwasiafo. Sabi, say, ono, more singing, more huninya. On kai no who de Ghana far, on you wanna recassa. Taxpayers' money, what did you cow? Brian's nesi, what the one share about to do Magana for nenen. On kai day, on money Ghana, it's Mamofon and Sabi, they are reasonable. He should credit the citizens of this country some level of wisdom. Dr. Sirbo, before you relieve an officer of his or her duty, an incident has happened. The question, and you are telling Ghanaians that you can't tell whether it was an envelope that the gentleman dropped on the table, as you were saying, whether it was a paper or a handkerchief. Before you relieve those officers of their duty, as Director of Electoral Services, knowing very well that the incident that was captured on tape goes against the rules and regulations that governs the conduct of an election, and as a result of that, you were relieving them of their responsibility. Are you telling Ghanaians that as Director of Electoral Services, you could not ask them what exactly was the Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, Professor Kingsley Nyako, dropped on the table? That is one basic, sensible or common sense question that every person with common sense working would ask. So the question, the bid that we are asking Dr. Sirbo is that before you leave those officers off their responsibility, are you telling us that you could not ask them what exactly did the gentleman dropped on the table? That is first question. For them to tell you that yes, it was an envelope or a piece of paper or a handkerchief, as you gave in your response to the journalist. Please, Dr. Sirbo, Ghanaians are beyond us. Credit the citizens of this country some modicum of wisdom. And stop that, that childish response that you give. Look, there is high tension in this country with regard to the election, and there are several instances that the opposition party has accused Electoral Commission of not being transparent in their dealings. So the bit that we expect that when that incident happened, it was a clear opportunity that it should have come clear. We want to tell Dr. Sirbo that he should have been able to tell the people, the journalists, that it was an envelope that the gentleman dropped on the table. Whether your officers took the envelope or they did not take it. If they took it, who took it? Did they open to see the content of the envelope? But for telling the journalists that you can't tell whether it was an envelope, it was a piece of paper, it was a handkerchief, for us that response, it is a disgrace of a response to have come from a whole Dr. Sirbo Kweku. Let's be honest here. Truth is bitter. The show is bitter truth. That answer that Dr. Sirbo gave doesn't make sense to anybody. For us, the Bitter Truth Show platform, we would like to tell Dr. Sirubwa that it was, I don't know what came over him to give that response. If Dr. Sirubwa was listening to himself, he should go back and listen to that tape. I don't think that even his children would have given that response. Such a lopsy and a disgraceful words, dishonest response that he gave to the journalist or him. Please, Dr. Sirubwa, for crying out loud, credit the citizens of this country some level of wisdom to tell the journalist that you can't tell whether it was an envelope, it was a paper, or a handkerchief. Please, Abba, a whole doctor at your age, with all the academic studies that you have acquired, and to give that response to the journalist. For us, please, truth is bitter. It must be told. When it is told, it heals. Dr. Sirubwa Kweku, the Director of Electoral Services of the Ghana Electoral Commission, come back again. That response, that answer you gave to the journalist, the Bitter Truth would like to tell you that it was a childish response. A most unfortunate and stupid childish response to have come from a personality like you. Let's tell you the truth. We will not mince word here. We speak the truth without mincing words. The show is the Bitter Truth Show. Let's listen to Dr. Sirubwa once again. Let him continue.
Officials have visited the said polling station. What has been your initial understanding of events? Was it an envelope? Was it a handkerchief? Was it an ordinary paper that the officials were reluctant in picking or accepting from this man?
I'm here to talk to those who went. But
initial understanding of events.
Then based on that, we'll take the next action.
I know EJISU officials have visited the said polling station. What has been your initial understanding of events? Was it an envelope? Was it a handkerchief? Was it an ordinary paper that the officials were reluctant in picking or accepting from this man?
Yet, the journalist responding or repeating the question again, asking Dr. Sirubwa Kweku that Yate, the journalist or Himitiria, repeating the question, putting the question to Dr. Sirubwa that Aza papana de 2 1 and yibera or your envelope or your handkerchief or your paper them runner kana, because for us begin day or Himitiria, the journalist now be with the subisabio in Yanona. Dr. Sirubwa Kweku Daman Nyanse Bierenim Yarekabio no call when you say in Yanona Dr. Sirubwa Zama Ozin Kanzama journalist in some training or when Nyanse Bierenim into no here there or sunny Bisan Bio into or Bisan Bio Yanko na Yankete and some potia or ye Dr. Sirubwa Kweku in Yanu potia or the ma or ye journalist and Yanko.
Was it an ordinary paper that the officials were reluctant in picking or accepting from this man?
I'm here to talk to those who went, but my understanding is that they went there just to ask them to stand aside for us to finish with the election. So later we'll get to know the details of it.
Then what then happens to the electorates? Because we know these two officials were working. They were busy.
We replaced them with different set of people to do the work. We had a standby, so those people have moved in to take charge of the work. So the voting, we didn't want to create any scene there or to create any tension over there. So they have been asked to stand aside for us to continue with the work. When we finish, we'll do the next investigation and take the next action that should be taken.
This is early days yet, but people are speculating that this could affect the credibility of today's exercise? As a director of elections for EC, do you see this having an impact or negative impact on today's exercise?
If you watch the video, you captured it. If you look at it critically, the officers refused even to receive whatever was being offered to them. So I said, I don't know how this one will affect the integrity of the election. Is it because of that they are going to increase somebody's vote or deny somebody from the chance of voting? All these things will be avoided. That's why we ask them to stand aside. So to us, it doesn't have any effect on the integrity of the election.
They believe.
Yate, Brana, on him material, some training in Orbisa, Dr. Serbo Kweku in Samanan. There, Anya Biara, Bra Wama, them 2 electoral officers and the one for one you made in one, Ebano, Jisen, Ama, Dinobo 2, or ye, about to know recorded, or say, was them Crawford for the Abasha one name. Them read you made in about to number 2 Akodo in you. Na ahemi tewi akodo bi se ne de ayenye biara za wesi nka ontumi nyansunsondo ba kwana omofodo nyansunsondo wa abato no do nenene Dr. Siriboni ya no nyi de za akodo no ontumi nyansunsondo biara wo abato no do nenene no pahuru bi sansam tonyi na ayenye biara. Is it a case there se waji da maze ne wo mo twoda wazi oye ballot and vote ni bi baba baka obi nizu ana. This is, I see the response that Dr. Silver gave in that whole circumstance, and it's mind-boggling. Yenyim several means by which electoral officers can aid. Okay, ama abato wakobwa obi. One classical example, yamfane de obi a or issue ballot. So obi ba no nyim na dem nyipo oboto ama oye party A. Na dem party A ni no do zikane man. Ana oja ademuji wono ho. No opedo obo na instead of they be to ballot paper craft and no credemon. Oboto ma to ebien ana e ba asan oda hye ni nsem. So onya akonya na otum to ebien e ba asan de hye dem nyipo ni nsem a. Nyipo no concept of the to okro no na che do oboto ebien. Oboto we basa. Sabi, Mr. Director of Electoral Services, Dr. Serbo Kweku should know better. Dr. Serbo Kweku should know better. Non kanyansa sambin chile Ghana for. The beta to the yere kanyede in yana Dr. Serbo gave. The response Dr. Serbo gave to the journalist doesn't make sense to us. Let's call a spade, but not a spoon. Let's be honest with our officials. So, Electoral Commission, Dr. Serbo Kweku, this platform, the bidder would like to tell you that your response that we gave to the journalist on Himiteria was totally untenable. It does not make sense. Go back and listen. Take the opportunity to listen to that interview yourself. Sit in your closet. Okay? After you've reflected on the incident, just take a playback and listen to that video and assess yourself the response that you gave to the journalist, whether it makes sense. So your argument and your attempt to say that by giving that to the people, the officials, and then how can that influence what? The election? And you ask the journalist, is it a case that he will increase the vote of a particular aspirant or what? The bitter truth, let's tell you, Dr. Simbo, I think you know better. You know several means by which electoral officers can aid a particular candidate in an election. If you don't know, let me tell you one example. Assuming that if the electoral officers really intend to assist a particular candidate to have what edge over their competitors, a ballot issuance, an officer who is issuing a ballot paper, if the polling agents, other officials over there are not vigilant a ballot issuance, an officer that is issuing a ballot, instead of issuing one ballot paper per candidate per a voter, can decide to issue 2 or 3 or more ballot paper to a voter. If he's successfully able to do that, that particular voter, instead of voting once, would have the opportunity to vote twice or 3 times, depending on the number of ballot paper that the issuance was able to issue to that voter. Is Dr. Sribo trying to tell us that this can't be possible? For crying out loud, we said Dr. Sribo Sebi. This platform, the bitter truth, would like to be truth with him without mentioning word. The response and his attempts to explain the actions that they took, and especially we are saying that for him not being bold enough to tell Ghanaians that what the member of parliament for Kwadaso, Dr. Kingsley Nyako, gave was an envelope, but going ahead to say whether it was a handkerchief or a paper, he cannot tell, even makes his argument and his explanation untenable and unreasonable, unwise. Thus is what the bitter truth we want to tell Dr. Sribo. So he should be sensible enough. He should credit the citizens of this country some respect and some wisdom. He should know that he was conducting or presiding over that election on behalf of the citizens of Ghana. And the law enjoins him to respect the citizens' democratic values, the responsibility that was entrusted to him, to the letter officers. We are saying that the response by Dr. Sribo does not make sense one bit. Doesn't make any logic. You should go back and listen to that interview and assess himself whether he was able to give a credible answers to that questions when the journalist was asking him question. What kind of nonsense is this? I mean, how? A whole doctor, a director of electoral services, for crying out loud, we are disappointed in Dr. Sribo Kweku. You will not mince word here. Just listen to him.
Is that maybe, I'm not speculating, that probably it was money that was exchanged hands. But yes, but if for instance it comes out to be money, and people will assume that maybe there are many other officials who have been compromised, who are, yes, I'm speculating. So you are saying that there is no way this could affect the credibility of the election, but people assume that if, for instance, it was money that was being exchanged, it's likely to affect the credibility, because
if it is even money, and it happened at that particular center, and as I said, if you watch the video very well, the people, they were not ready to receive whatever the parcel was, so it was dropped on the table, right? So for now, we shouldn't crucify them till we do the investigation and get to the root of it. Because clearly, if you watch, you captured it, you have a look at it. The parcel was being given to them, and the people were not ready to take it. So it was dropped on the table. When it was dropped on the table, who took it? Now we don't know. Whether the man even went back to pick it, then, because that portion did not appear in the camera. So let's wait and do the investigation, and we'll see what we do.
Yet the response that Dr. Sribo Kweku was given when Ahimiteria was trying to explain the scenario that can outplay, okay, to affect the credibility of the outcome of the election. He was explaining that yes, the gentleman dropped the envelope on the table, while the electoral officers were not willing to accept it. So he dropped it on the table. The question that the bitter truth we are asking that, so at the time that they took a decision to relieve the officers of their responsibility, replacing them with new set of officers, when they went there as electoral commission senior officials, was the object on the table or not? Where was the object? This is a common sense question that the bidder were asking Dr. Siribo Kweku. Was the object that he claimed that whether it was an envelope, whether it was a paper or a handkerchief, was it on the table? Where was it? If he's not the one who went there, his officers whom he sent to go to the grounds to go and relieve those officers of their responsibility and replace them with a new set of officers. What feedback did that officer bring to Dr. Siribo Kweku as a senior electoral officer, as director of election services conducting that particular EJISU by-election? Messi, they should credit Ghanaians some wisdom, Dr. Siribo. The response you give is untenable, it's childish, it doesn't make sense. From A to Z, your response was bogus. It doesn't make sense. There is no common sense in your response. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's tell you the truth. Dr. Siribo, your response was stupid, was childish. It does not make common sense in any way. Please, let's take the election serious, because look, tension is very high. We are in an electionary year. Tension is very high. As electoral commission officials, you must conduct your dealings with honesty and integrity so that people's confidence in the electoral commission can be restored. We have no other country in addition to this country. Perhaps some of you, when it happens, you have visas, you can buy ticket and fly. But there are millions of the citizens of this country who cannot go anywhere. Please, think about them. Just listen to
to feel so proud about these officers for not accepting, like not taking it directly from the man. Is it your position?
For now, don't draw conclusions. In the video, they refuse to receive it, right? But what happens after you have left? I wouldn't know. That's what I'm saying. So the investigation will show whether, as they refuse to receive it, they didn't take it and the man took it back. I wouldn't know, right? If they went back and took it to, then there's also its one implication. So let's wait. We shouldn't crucify anybody. Let's get to the root of it. Once we have done the investigation, they will know what was it. Did they take it or the giver took it back? All these things will come up. Then based on that, we'll draw our conclusions.
You see, the more you listen to Dr. Siribo Kweku, the angrier you become. The more you listen to him when he was being interviewed by Ohimiteria, the journalist, the responses that he gave, the more you listen to him, you ask yourself that the man was confused standing before the journalist. Also in the video, the man, you see, he asked him, you seem to be proud about your officers for not accepting the envelope. And the man dropped it. And his response is that what? In the video, yes, they did not receive it. When the man dropped it, as to whether he went back to take it or not, none of us could tell. And I'm saying that electoral commission officers, in the process of going to relieve those officers of their duty, if you were not able to tell, to identify that whether the man came back, your officers indeed truly refuse acceptance of that particular envelope, that object, which you are describing that you can't tell whether it was an envelope or it's a white handkerchief or it's a paper. And those who went there could not tell whether they went to meet the object still on the table or where the object has gone to. They could not tell you. They couldn't come up to give you a feedback. Is that the understanding you want Ghanaians to get? Is that the meaning? Is that what you are telling Ghanaians? The reason why the bidder to we are saying that Dr. Siribo Kweku, the Director of Electoral Services of Ghana, that singular act, your response when you were being interviewed by Ohimiteria, the responses that you gave does not make sense. As a whole, a doctor, you make a mockery of yourself, the stupidity of yourself. You made yourself a laughing stock. If no one is telling you, if your wife, after listening to that interview, if your children and your colleague officers, after listening to that, and will not tell you that Dr. Siribo Kweku, you failed and you let the commission down by your responses, the bitter truth will tell you that, look, your response was childish, your response does not make sense, your response was illogical and incoherent. Thus is the bitter truth show. We say it as it ought to be said without mincing word. So Dr. Siribo, you were at that particular instance, that response you gave, you were a disgrace to the Electoral Commission and Ghana. You were an apology of that event, a disgrace of that event. If nobody will tell you this platform, the bitter truth, we will not mince words. This is the bitter truth show. Just let's listen to him.
And take the necessary primitive measures if need be.
How long will these investigations take?
We are doing the election. We'll finish today and we'll go there. If you have to even give it to the police to investigate, they will do that. So the commission will take the necessary step to clear the system.
So is it to say that you want to involve police in this investigation?
I'm saying that we will do the investigation based on the initial thing that we will get. If we need to bring in the police, we will do so.
You heard Dr. Siribo Kweku in conclusion, he said that they will investigate the matter. If the need be to hand it over to the police, they will hand it over. We've seen several letters that the Electoral Commission has released with regards to that particular incident in explaining steps that the Commission has taken in getting to the bottom of the issue. Sabinti police in your back and the winyum, so your handkerchief no ye the mano. So your paper no other mano. So your envelope no other mano. Oh no, and a Dr. Siribo Kweku, the Director of Electoral Services of Electoral Commission of Ghana, Opera Yeti, EJISU by election, NPP Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, Dr. Kingsley Nyako, or the envelope onukotokum, Northern Man or your electoral officers and Emma video capture and over the social media. Iyana Dr. Siribo Kweku, the Director of Electoral Services, so yin sabi no kwawin yesi nyansa biara enyi insama iyana Dr. Siribo Kweku kenen on to assume Dr. Siribo Kweku onfobu nyiti infama Ghana fo dwumedi a ahwei nedin aranye no kwawin ye ka no kwatran penyimfo o sende yanka no kwara omman Ghana ne chichiren ne punto ayehwehwe nenen nyane sarenka dwumedi nedin no kwatran. The show that you are watching is the Bitter Truth Show. We speak truth to power. We speak the truth. We say truth is bitter. When it is told, it heals. We say it without mincing word. We want to tell Dr. Siribo Kweku, the Director of Electoral Services of Electoral Commission of Ghana, that the incidents, the alleged attempts by the Member of Parliament for Kwadaso to bribe electoral officers, and the response, the explanation that Dr. Siribo Kweku gave to the journalists does not make sense to us. And as we bring the show to an end, we are telling Dr. Siribo Kweku that he should go back and listen to that interview himself and let him assess his performance, whether he did well or not. But for us, the bitter truth, we said he was a disgrace to the Electoral Commission. All his responses doesn't make sense to us. The show is the Bitter Truth Show. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed and stay out of trouble till we come your way with another authentic Bitter Truth Show. Goodbye. Yo, you're not careful, you man. I'll call by the by hand jumeti. Jumeti, I yet soon as no car in win shumedi. No car in win shumedi. But you better you knew the home common. Or yeah, the fallout of EJISU by election and the fallout of EJISU by election. Or no, na ya better you knew the home common. Bra, about to no record